The show. Thank you so much for sparing time to come and talk to Ugandans on what you're doing when it comes to issues shaping this nation. Honorable, first things first, your mandate, because the office of the government chief whip, in Uganda we say Nampalawa government. A Ugandan out there who is watching the show wants to understand what is the mandate of the government chief whip. Honorable.
First and foremost, let me start by stating that the office of the government chief whip is a statutory office established under 4 legal instruments. It is established under the Administration of Parliaments Act. It is established under the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. It is established under the Constitution of the National Resistance Movement. And finally, it is established under the Rules of Procedure of the NRM Parliamentary Caucus. I wish to use very, very simple terms in order for our viewers to understand the mandate in terms of the roles and responsibilities of the office of the government chief whip. The office of the government chief whip, in summary and in a nutshell, can be described in 3 fronts. One is that that particular office plays a legislative role, the reason why it is domiciled in Parliament under the office of the leader of government business, which is a department within Parliament. Secondly, the office of the government chief whip plays an executive role. It is a senior cabinet position, again domiciled under the office of the Prime Minister. Thirdly, the office of the government chief whip plays the party role. That is in a nutshell and in summary. The legislative role, the executive role, and the party role. Now, in Parliament, the government chief whip, by virtue of his or her appointment, is the leader of the NRM members of Parliament. The reason why, under the NRM Constitution and the Rules of Procedure, the government chief whip, by his or her appointment, is the chairperson of the NRM Parliamentary Caucus, implying any matter legislative in nature where the NRM party has an interest, be it a matter that the NRM embedded it in its manifesto, it goes first to the NRM Parliamentary Caucus. If it is legislative, after discussions are held, a resolution is passed. That resolution is now carried to Parliament. The executive role, the government chief whip, as I told you, is a senior cabinet position, a cabinet minister for that matter. The party role, you are also a party leader in Parliament. The reason why, you chair an organ of the party in Parliament. You are the party leader in Parliament. So without really going into what is stated in the different statutes, I can summarize the roles and responsibilities of a government chief whip as legislative, as executive, and the party role. To drive my point home, for those who love football, the role and the responsibility of a government chief whip is the role of a midfielder out of the 11 players on the pitch. He or she is either playing number 6 or number 8, the engine of any game. So that is the role played by the government chief whip. And as I stated, it is only one of the 2 offices at the level of cabinet established by the statute, or statutory in nature. The first one is the office of the Attorney General, which is a creation of the Constitution, and that of the government chief whip. So you are that midfielder who is charged with 360 degrees monitoring the field where the ball is. If the ball is with the goalkeeper, you must stand on the side of the goalkeeper. If the ball is with the defender, you must be ready to receive and supply either the wingers or the attackers. So that is why In terms of NRM, you are a leader. In cabinet, you are a member. In parliament, you are a leader. So that is, in a nutshell, using a very, very simple analogy, what a government chief whip plays. You can see the current holder of that office. At 40 years, God has blessed him with what the Bible says, it is wisdom.
Honorable.
Yes.
Thank you. Director, Honorable has talked about your office play being the midfield. I do not know if this is now the deep six, okay? But Ugandans want to understand. Director, you play that technical bit of it within that office. Now, a Ugandan wants to understand as well, as the director in the Office of Leader of Government Business, what is your role? How do you connive? How do you work with the Office of the Government Chief Whip to ensure that there is service delivery?
Thank you very much. One of the issues the Government Chief Whip has talked about is the office is in the center of doing legislative, doing executive work, and also the political part of it. Now, the role of Office of Leader of Government Business is to support. One is the Leader of Government Business, who is the, according to the Constitution, it is the Prime Minister who is the Leader of Government Business. And also it supports the roles of the Government Chief Whip. So it is in two, in one. But all, it focuses on supporting the coordination of government business. Now, you'll ask yourself, what is that business we are talking about? This is the business which government brings to Parliament. It consists of bills, motions, budget to be passed by Parliament. That is all the business we concentrate on. But apart from that, we are able to support the Office of Government Chief Whip in terms of coordinating all the activities of Government Chief Whip, in terms of the whipping of members of Parliament, in the constituting of the members of Parliament, to support the parliamentary plenary, and also to debate, and also to make sure that business comes to Parliament. In other words, in summary, it is the office is known as the one which gives business to Parliament. Without it, you may not have business in Parliament. So it is the focal point of Parliament in terms of functionality.
Honorable, now that all that is clear, the director has also actually mentioned a few of those that you really, how you work together as an office. Let's get to whipping, in particular NRM MPs, to attend parliamentary business. How do you ensure all this, Honorable?
In our whipping system, through our command and control, there exists a structure. One is that under the leadership of the Office of the Government Chief Whip, there are appointed regional whips. The regional whips are at sub-regional level, and they are meant to canvass in terms of mobilizing members of the party within their respective areas. For instance, you have a whip for West Nile, you have a whip for Acholi, you have a whip for Lango, you have a whip for Teso, you have a whip for Sebei, to mention but a few. In addition to that whipping structure under the regional whips, we also have the leadership of the different committees, and majority of them are constituted by the NRM. For instance, tomorrow when Parliament resumes, we shall be constituting the leadership and membership of the different committees, and majority of them are headed by NRM. In one way or the other, the leaders of committees who are chaired by NRM are also our whips, in quotes, because they are also charged with the responsibility of mobilizing the members under their charge for purposes of them participating in plenary and in supporting the position of government or the position of the party. I told you also earlier on that there exists a department in Parliament called the office of the leader of government business. It is one of the departments within Parliament. In that department, there are staff recruited for providing technical services, aided by the director. In our chain of command and leadership and administration, the staff under the department are also charged with the responsibility of taking charge of the different areas of the country, in that they have areas where they also help us in mobilizing the members. So a member of parliament, if we have a business, may end up being mobilized by 3 different command structure. Command structure number 1, the regional whips. Command structure number 2, the leadership of committees. Command structure number 3, the technical officers who are also aligned, who are also placed, who are also designated to take charge of the different areas. So in terms of members being mobilized or whipped, that is not a problem. Maybe the problem is actual attendance. But if your phone is on, you will receive a message. If your phone is on, you will be recalled. If you will be called, I mean to say. If your phone is on and you are in the WhatsApp group, you will be reading the messages notifying you of the businesses like the one we are having tomorrow. So that, in a nutshell, is our command structure in terms of whipping. Then the government chief whip is the lead. It takes charge, asking the director of our technical officers mobilized, calling at random the respective whips of the committees of the different regions, calling the leadership of the committees. That is the whipping system we use in our case. But once there is a matter where the party has met and a position has been agreed, there is, under the Commonwealth practice, what we call the 3-line whipping system. Line number 1, a member may be expected to debate at will. That is a subject matter where the party has no interest. You debate according to your interest. Whipping line number 2 is you debate while supporting the position of the party, but can vote according to your interest, maybe the interest of your constituency. The 3rd line whipping system is where you must toe the party line. That is, there is no compromise, completely no compromise. The party has met, the party has interest, the party has taken a position, you must support the position of the party, because there is only one political party entrusted through the social contract that the people of Uganda gave it, that mandate. That is the National Resistance Movement under the leadership of President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. If an agenda is pro-people, if an agenda is in the best interest of the people, and the party has caucused, and we are using the 3-line whipping system, you have no space.
Is that democracy, Honorable?
Pardon?
A Ugandan might ask, is that democracy?
That may not be democracy, but it is part of our democratic process that we adopted, because by the time you accept to belong to a grouping, you must be able to abide by the internal rules and regulations. And these are internal rules and regulations of any political party. Ours is even fairer. In certain jurisdictions, any attempt can lead to your withdrawal from parliament. You are withdrawn from parliament and you lose being a member of parliament. But in our jurisdiction, I think we are so much fairer, to the extent that we first meet internally and we exhaust the different options, and we now come to a conclusion through consensus after that debate, and that position once carried is what you are now supposed to support.
Honorable, on that very matter, before I cross to the director, kindly take us through the forms of discipline and the indiscipline. Probably a Ugandan out there should understand that if you're whipping, the forms of discipline that a member of parliament that is in NRM should follow, and the indiscipline. At what point do you whip somebody? The forms of disciplines, Honorable.
First and foremost, once a position has been agreed, and that position is normally agreed in a formal meeting of the caucus, a resolution is passed members of the party are notified that this particular business is coming to Parliament on Thursday this week. And as such, all members of the party must be in attendance. Now, along the way, as you use that command structure for whipping, you will find members who have switched off their phones. You may not access them. You may find members who will receive the phone calls and probably they have other excuses or commitments.
Who calls them?
I have told you it is either the regional whips or the committee leadership, the chairpersons and the vice, because they are also whips in quotes, or the technical officers, because the technical officers are also assigned certain sub-regions to oversee. Now, you will end up even constituting a team to ascertain how many members of parliament have you reached. They may come and the statistics, when you sum it up, we have reached out to 380 members of parliament. But on the actual day, when you do physical counting all through our advancement in technology, you may find about 300 or 280. So you pose the question, where are the rest? Is it that they have not been reached? They have been reached. Some of them may be fearing because the subject matter touches directly on their constituencies. So they may not come. Some of them may even be saying, I am sick, I am hospital, I am attending to a patient. So those are, I would say, the form of some challenges. I don't even call them indiscipline. The forms of challenges that our people in charge of whipping can face. You get the point? Those are the challenges they can face. But all in all, every member of the party is aware. That is why I am saying our system is so fair to our members. In other jurisdictions, let me quote, for instance, Namibia. Let me quote Rwanda. When the party agrees on a matter and you fail to attend without any reasonable justification, it can cost you a seat in parliament without any justifiable. But in our jurisdiction, kind of, it is give and take. As long as you ascertain quorum, as long as you have quorum, you may, to a certain extent, be lenient with that whipping stick. But all in all, where the party has interest, in a nutshell and in practice and in principle, all members of the party must attend and support the position of the party.
Director, you talked about providing government business for parliamentary sittings as part of your mandate on the technical wing. What are some of the steps that you take to ensure that government business that is presented in Parliament actually is well prepared and timely?
Thank you so much. Now, government business, we talk about, first, the government business we talk about is the bills. This is developed right from the time we start the new financial year. We start looking ahead. What are we going to bring, propose? What are the new areas? What are the areas which need to be looked at or updated? But this is done, you know, the procedure of government business starts with ministries. Ministries propose areas where they feel they need to have a bill or to have a law or a regulation. And these are submitted. Now, when they are submitted to the Office of Leader of Government Business on the request of the Leader of Government Business, who is the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister writes to them, usually in March, to ask what business are you going to bring to Parliament. Every end of the session, he writes to different ministries. So it is the role of the Leader of Government Business who writes to the different ministries to bring the business. Now, as technical staff, we help into compiling the business we have brought. Now, the business which is brought, we also look at the criteria. What criteria have we specified for different ministries? It is well specified in the letter we sent written by the Prime Minister, saying that any business you are going to bring, the principles must have been approved by Cabinet. If it is a bill, the principles must have been approved, final principles approved by Cabinet, and the certificate of financial implication also attached. So that is the criteria number one. Criteria number two is consultative process must have been done by the ministry. Because by the stage of consultative process, that means the bill now is ready to go to Cabinet. So it is very fast. It can move fast and come in that session or in that financial year. That is the criteria we use. Now, when the ministries submit, we consider that criteria. And then we develop the list, which is submitted to the leader of government business. The leader of government business looks at it and able to ascertain and decide the bills which will be submitted to the head of state, to the president, which are included in the State of the Nation. Those are what comes to be into the legislative program. That is one of them.
Okay.
Now, another one is about, we have what we call government motions. Different motions of government. They are different in nature. It can be about the policy change in the ministry which is brought. It may be a statement to update the public about what's going on. It may be a change of policy in the ministry, which is also supposed to come. So our office coordinates all that.
Director, does that answer how you determine which bills and policies that really take priority in the legislative program for each session? Because you talked about consultative processes, you talked about ministers as well, ministries submitting their proposals probably. How do you determine which bills and policies that really take center stage in the legislative program?
That's very good. One of them, as I said, is the principles must have been approved by Cabinet for the bills, and the certificate of financial implication attached. That is the criteria. The second is when the ministry has completed what we call consultative process. In other words, now it's remaining to take it to Cabinet. So it is easier. Those are the two critical areas we look at in determining what can be submitted on the legislative program.
Are there been instances, Director, where delays in government business actually has affected parliamentary operations?
We haven't had any, because we always submit programs, business, within the 2 weeks. So within 2 weeks, there's business for Parliament. Whatever we have, which we get from different ministries, it is submitted. So we have a notice of the business for 2 weeks. Therefore, Parliament has business all the time.
Before you go for that break, Honorable and the Director, good evening. This is Isaac from Loro Town Council, Oyam District. You have stated it clear, the roles of Government Chief Whip. Now, why have you changed Uganda Parliament to Chankwanzi and all the decisions made by the President? Are you then answerable to the nation or to the appointing authority? Honorable, I think this is yours.
Okay. I wish to respond to my brother that the address of the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda has never changed from the time Uganda attained independence. The parliamentary sitting is housed at the parliamentary main building. That is where Parliament sits. Even tomorrow when Parliament is returning from recess, that is where we shall sit. The National Leadership Institute Chamkwanzi is a national platform envisaged under Article 17 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, where any interested group can have an opportunity to go and caucus. In most cases, the NRM Parliamentary Caucus chooses to have its retreat at the National Leadership Institute in Chamkwanzi. And I wish to state that in the lifetime, for instance, of the 11th Parliament, how many times have we met at Chamkwanzi? Not more than 3 times. Now, for one to state the address of Parliament has changed, it has not changed. Parliament sits near Uganda Broadcasting Corporation here. It is televised live by UBC, and it sits at Parliament of Uganda, not the National Leadership Institute. The National Leadership Institute is like a church where we go to every Friday, a mosque for the Muslims, maybe every Saturday for the seventh day, every Sunday for the Christians. So once in a while, you need to have time to retreat. For instance, NRM, we have that mandate with the people of Uganda. We must be able to also retreat and do an assessment of the progress we have made on the legislative path in terms of service delivery. You cannot do that in Kampala. You need that quiet environment where ministries, departments, and agencies of government will be able to give us a brief. Like we are doing assessment of the 2.5 years we have been in power. Of the 4 years, you can only do it at that national facility. And I want to tell him that the National Leadership Institute is for all Ugandans. If he's interested, he can also seek for permission to take a retreat there. And that will be cleared, just like we have always had our retreats.
All right, the front bench continues. Ladies and gentlemen, keep your questions and comments coming in on 0709-602592. For now, I'm going in for that short commercial break. Don't go away.
This is the front bench.
From the day your child is born, you want to protect them. You want to protect them from the harm you know and the things your eyes can see. Protect them from falls when they are playing and as they are learning the world. But what protects them from the things your eyes can't see? Diseases attacking their bodies. Immunization from as early as birth, 6 weeks, 10, 14 weeks to 9 and 18 months. And malaria starting at 6, 7, 8 to 18 months protects children from diseases, giving them the foundation they need to grow stronger and healthier.
Parents and caregivers, remember to immunize your children 9 times from birth to 18 months to protect them against vaccine-preventable diseases such as measles, rubella, polio, pneumonia, hepatitis B, tuberculosis, tetanus, meningitis, yellow fever, diarrhea, whooping cough, diphtheria, and malaria. All vaccines used for immunization are safe, effective, and free. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF, WHO, and partners.
All right, listen up. Obua Kiiza is on a mission. It makes our gums happy and our teeth strong. See? We're moving forward and making changes.
It's kind of a big thing.
Colgate Herbal uses traditional nature's herbs and combines it with Colgate Science for healthy gums and strong teeth. And we'll leave no smile behind.
This August, East Africa becomes the center of African football. CHAN 2024 is here, and it's bigger than ever. 3 proud nations, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, united by football, passion, and power. From the first whistle to the final roar, 35 thrilling matches, live, only on UBC TV and radio stations. Wherever you are in Uganda, from the city to the village, UBC brings CHAN 2024 to your screen and your radio. August 2nd to August 30th, it's football like never before. 1 tournament, 1 region, 1 heartbeat. CHAN 2024, live on UBC. Feel the game, live the glory.
This is the front bench.
No. Well, thank you so much for keeping it UBC. The front bench continues. Colleagues are sending in actually interesting questions on our WhatsApp number. Thank you so much for those who are watching from different parts of the country. Honorable, before we went in for that break, you were answering somebody. But let's talk about how you engage opposition whips. Because the question is, how often do you engage them? And what issues typically actually require bipartisan consensus?
The Parliament of the Republic of Uganda is a national platform where there are issues that can be of national interest, requiring both sides to meet. In most cases, our consultative meetings and engagements are covert and not overt over different subject matters, especially with the other whips. They may also have interest, we may also have interest. But the interest that is bigger than all of us is the interest of the country called the Republic of Uganda. That is normally where we caucus, we meet, we engage constructively with members of the other side. We have done it not once, not twice. I cannot move into mentioning names and the whips of which political parties we have met, but many times in the corridors of Parliament, in our respective offices, through our phones, we have made consultations on different subject matters on the floor or planned to come on the floor of Parliament. So when you ask, do we do that and how regular? It may be even on a daily basis. There's a subject matter on the floor we must caucus on. We have had a number of issues in the recent past. You talk about the deployment of our national army to South Sudan. It is for our strategic security as the Republic of Uganda. And that security is not only for the members of NRM, it is for all Ugandans. We have talked about the issue of rationalization, the different bills that came to Parliament, where the fourth session of this Parliament went on record as the session where the number of bills processed in the last 15 years, that session is unprecedented because we processed about 34 bills in total in one session. One session is 1 year. So in between there, we are engaging. In between there, we are consulting. In between there, you see members are debating. Others are bringing their own opinions. Others are talking about their constituencies. Others are talking about the national interest. But we feel that whatever is decided is in the best interest of the country. Everybody may not agree. Even Jesus sat with 12 disciples. 2 of them, Simon Peter and Judas, were part of those who left him aside. Meaning, in each and every decision, you will have a Simon Peter and a Judas. If it happened with Jesus with only 12 disciples, what about us? But as long as it is in the best interest of the people of Uganda, we normally engage and have it passed.
Honorable, you do initiate dialogue with opposition whips. Someone might ask, is there an example that you can actually cite where opposition has helped pass an important bill, for example?
I do not want to go specific. Let me deal with the principles.
Okay.
Because they may end up tomorrow saying, but you man, I thought when we meet, when we caucus,
internal.
It is internal. But you went ahead and exposed us. Normally, when we discuss, it is looking at the strategic and the national interest.
Director, let's talk about enhancing accountability of the executive to Parliament. How do you handle situations where ministries fail to meet accountability standards?
Thank you so much. In line with our rules of procedure, they are very clear and they specify. One is that accountability of different ministries is done in two ways. One is on the recommendations and resolutions of Parliament, whereby Parliament makes recommendations and resolutions. That is in the rules, that the minister is given 60 working days to have submitted the action taken report. Then we have another accountability in terms of the money appropriated in the budget, whereby it is every ministry has got the Auditor General to audit. That's in the Constitution. It's audited and the audit report is submitted to Parliament. When it's submitted to Parliament, the Speaker sends the report to different committees of accountability committees, where they will scrutinize come out with different recommendations which they have observed and areas which need ministries to address. These are also sent to ministries. When they are sent back to the ministries, then ministries have to answer those areas or queries to the Minister of Finance, who later tables what we call the Treasury Memoranda. That's where it is being answered. So those are two areas in terms whereby we have action taken report. Minister is given 60 working days to have reported on the action taken. Two, when it is on issues of budget funds, it's through the Treasury Memoranda.
Director, given the fact that you have to ensure that there is accountability within the executive, that is to Parliament, can you assure Ugandans that all annual reports on the use of public funds by ministries and agencies are actually thoroughly reviewed?
Yes, that is, we are assured. We have different public accounts committees. We have the local public accounts committee, which handles local government, central, COSASE. So all these are well scrutinized and accounted for. You must have seen even when committees are sitting and engaging different ministries to find out how these funds were spent. And these resolutions are made and everything is done properly in Parliament.
All right, I do have some questions here, Honorable and the Director. Hello, good evening. This is George William Rubanga Ken from Mutungo. He has two questions. How will you justify imposing a strict party discipline when it potentially stifles constructive dissent? Two, can you provide examples where the whip's office has actually successfully balanced party unity with allowing MPs to represent their constituents' diverse views? This is George William from Mutungo.
To our brother George William from Mutungo, when we talk about discipline, look at that unit called the Homestead, where you are the commander-in-chief as the father. Even coming to this studio, there are rules and regulations implying in each and every game there are rules and regulations, and those rules and regulations are set before, not during, not after. It is like accepting Jesus as your Lord and Savior. You confess it. You say it yourself. Now, by the time you accept, by the time you confess to be a member of the National Resistance Movement as a political party, that implies you have accepted to comply with both the written and the unwritten rules and regulations of that particular party. I can take you back where I told you that this office is established under 4 legal instruments. But let me only mention 2. Any member of the NRM knows that there exists the Constitution of the National Resistance Movement, where in part of the appendix there is what we call the Code of Conduct. If you're a member of Parliament of NRM, you know there exist the rules of procedure of NRM, Parliamentary Caucus. Now, when it comes to matters of discipline, first of all, internally, you are given ample time for us to debate, to discuss, and come up with a common position called a resolution. Once that is agreed, we have come on the floor of Parliament. You have even seen some members of Parliament on the NRM ticket firing on their own foot. In any battlefield, as a member of the Amuka, you know that the war within is the most dangerous war. Because I can end up shooting the director can end up shooting you. But when you are fighting a conventional war, you know that the enemy forces are coming. Now, for us as NRM, there is our minimum. which is acceptable by all our members by the time you join. So that is our minimum disciplinary, I would say, modus operandi. If you choose to abide by, correct. If you choose not to abide by, that is you. But there is the minimum. And you know, the moment the party has discussed and agreed and there's a resolution, you are duty bound to support it. The party has not stifled you. The party has given you the latitude of debating internally. You have debated. The party has looked at the different options, and the direction they have taken is what they think is in the best interest of its members to support. When you talk about examples where we have done that, I think the list is endless. The list is endless. We have handled in the half of this year very, very contentious matters in Parliament. You remember the coffee bill, which was part of rationalization?
Very much.
You remember the amendment to the UPDF Act? You remember the issue of deployment? You remember the other rationalization bills, among others? The list is long. The list is long, but we normally try our best. Now, for people who, for instance, did not understand the amendment to the UPDF Act, they took us to a fishing expedition. The amendment to that act was meant, first of all, to conform to the Supreme Court ruling. The court came up with a ruling and gave directives on how we should deal with the law. Two, it is meant to protect Ugandans from any Ugandan who believes that holding a gun illegally and proceeding with that gun to continue committing other illegalities and criminalities, that one now you cannot touch it. You can't touch it. I gave an example, for instance, in what happened around Lango area, and people understood it very, very well. That you, a civilian, salivating to get an AK-47, which is primarily a preserve of the armed forces, and you go ahead to commit a crime of murder with a gun acquired illegally, you go ahead to commit a crime of robbery, this law is here for you. And that law is meant to protect all the ordinary citizens of Uganda who are doing their respective businesses. It is meant to protect them. So when you talk about examples, the list is endless.
Honorable, before I cross to the director, actually our time is running out. What measures do you put in place to handle the MPs who openly dissent on key votes, for instance, term limits, resource allocation?
We have always had a one-on-one with them to understand. A one-on-one engagement before we invoke the provisions of our rules of procedure or the Constitution. But when it comes to resource allocation, one thing Ugandans need to understand is what is the primary role of a member of parliament. Because even if I'm disagreeing about resource allocation in parliament, I need services. I need health centers in my constituency. I should lobby. I need schools in my sub-counties without seed secondary schools. I should lobby. I need tractors if they are provided for under Ministry of Agriculture. I need better roads. But you see, many times the people of Uganda tend to gauge the performance of MPs based on what they say. What have you done? What have you done? They expect you to pick money from your pocket. That is not the primary role of a member of parliament. If there is a member of parliament doing that in this time and season where there is no constituency development fund, that is a plus and is doing like a secondary role. My primary role, why the people of Ajuri sent me to Kampala, is like someone who has been sent on a hunting spree. Is like someone who has been sent to a kitchen where the cooks are preparing food. What is it that you can pick from that kitchen in terms of resources, health centers, in terms of schools, in terms of ensuring that your constituency gets whatever government is bringing on board for service delivery. That is primarily what a member of parliament should be gauged on. Even that one who said, after now speaking in caucus, you are not allowed, as long as he or she is ensuring that there are services going to his or her constituency, there are schools being built, there are health centers being built, he has lobbied for a tractor from somewhere, he has made sure that the 1 billion going to his district is being worked on roads in his constituency, that member of parliament is doing primarily what he or she is supposed to be doing.
Very good. I like the fact that, Honorable, you've touched that question. It was Ochan Eric Stover. He is actually the chairperson, Youth Council, Gulu District. He was saying his MP, in the campaign, he said he doesn't speak in parliament or raise problems of Aswa. Because in NRM, everything is agreed in the caucus. You do not talk anyhow. That is why he rarely speaks in parliament. Do you whip members of NRM MPs for talking about issues that affect their constituency, but is not part of the NRM caucus resolution? Otherwise, to him, if that is true, then he would advise that you change the whipping style to give freedom to members of NRM MPs to debate and vote according to the will of the people they represent. All right, Vincent Odaro, thank you so much for being part of the show.
But
Director,
maybe, let me respond and say this quickly.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
That under our rules of procedure, there is normally time provided for what we call matters of urgent public importance, where you, a member of parliament, you are given the latitude to raise any policy-related matter on any subject matter affecting your respective constituency. Not that in all subjects, members of parliament must be whipped. No, there is this open session where I will be talking about the broken bridges in my constituency, where I will be talking about the non-availability of seed schools in my constituency, where I will be talking about the availability of no health centers in my constituency. You are given that particular latitude. It is under our rules of procedure. Not that each and everything is discussed or starts and ends with the parliamentary caucus. No, you have that latitude.
Honorable, I will be getting back to you to give your final remarks. Director, as we summarize, kindly talk about coordinating, how you coordinate the constitution of committees and Prime Minister's question time as you give your last remarks.
Now, coordination of constitution of committees. In the rules, that's the role of the government chief whip. It provides that the government chief whip constitutes the committees of parliament. Technically, our role is to support the government chief whip. We have designed an app, what we use for members to apply, which specifies the committees which you are supposed to apply for, the region you come from, your name is also put there, your profession and competencies, and then also the committee's first choice you want, second choice, and the third choice. That app has helped us to generate reports whereby it even indicates the time you have submitted your application. It can be done even on the phone. Now, after generating the report, we shall go, for example, on the Committee of Agriculture and say the first person who applied at 10:02, and we generate that report, even to another committee. This report is submitted to the government chief whip for the government chief whip to take action, to take a decision. So that is the technical role where we reach. The rest is for the government chief whip. Now, when it comes on another issue you talked about,
Prime Minister's
question time. Prime Minister's question time is in the rules of procedure, where it provides that there will be Prime Minister's question time every Thursday from 4 p.m. It provides for written members of parliament to write those questions which they feel the Prime Minister can answer. But they should be on policy or on programs of government programs which is related to government and what is happening in the constituency. So they are written and others are oral. The Prime Minister is given 20 minutes to answer the written, and then the 40 minutes for orals. Now, during the Prime Minister's time, that is the time when the Prime Minister informs the public on what government is doing through those questions.
All right.
That is when the time the Prime Minister also tells the public on the plans they have through those questions.
Thank you, Director. Honorable, our time is fast spent, but as you summarize in 2 to 3 minutes, Honorable, critics say that you focus more on party loyalty than on national interest. How do you respond to claims that party discipline sometimes overrides what is best for Ugandans? Of course, Honorable, not forgetting your motto, you're tried, tested, and trusted. Honorable, the people of Ajuri County are watching you, actually the whole nation. Take it away, please.
Let me say this, that the National Resistance Movement, under the leadership of His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, is a dependable party in government. In many instances, we have tried our best to always ensure that the interest of the people who have entrusted us with the mandate of leading this beautiful nation called Uganda takes priority. The reason why laws, the reason why rules, the reason why regulations that we pass, in our considered opinion, are pro-people. And for that reason, we have taken a unanimous decision at the National Resistance Movement to bring back our reliable and dependable team captain, His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, because 2 to 3 months from now, we shall be heading into the national nomination for both MPs and the President. Whatever we do, it is the interest of the nation called Uganda. The people of Uganda entrusted the National Resistance Movement. So whatever we do, national interest first, followed by the interest of the party. So to the contrary, it is national interest because the mandate we exercise is for and on behalf of the people of Uganda. So we cannot do anything against them. What we do is pro the people of Uganda. The reason why the NRM has been able to deliver sustainable peace in the post-independence history of Uganda, has been able to deliver development. The NRM has now gone on record as the only ruling party in the post-independence history of Uganda that has now introduced wealth creation initiatives. I normally say the NRM is like God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. God the Father, sustainable peace. God the Son, development. And God the Holy Spirit is the ongoing wealth creation initiatives introduced by the NRM.
Thank you so much, the government Chief Whip, Honorable Hamson Obua. Thank you so much for sparing time. It has been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much, Director, Office of Leader of Government Business, Mr. Kiiza Charles Lwanga. Ladies and gentlemen, our focus tonight has been on the parliamentary ethics and rules of procedure, but of course putting in mind how they shape policy and of course ensuring parliamentary discipline. You've heard it from the officers themselves. Actually, trust me, I can't actually add anything as far as what the Office of the Government Chief Whip does when it comes to serving the nation. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Those who have actually sent in their questions and comments, thank you so much. And those who were still actually sending in, our time is actually over. Jethro Kasaiji is my name. From me and the entire team, it's a good night. Thank you.
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future